I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only
What's
one.
up, everybody? Welcome to my channel.
No one
I'm
likes
Sunshinery.
being
Make sure
lied
to
to.
subscribe and like this video.
You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now
You guys sent in some heavy questions. First question, we're starting off talking about Tom, even when I said I wasn't going to anymore. Ooh. Okay, we're shaking again. Okay, I'm breathing. When did you decide to get sober? Do you regret breaking off your engagement? Would I be open to talking to any former cast members? Did you have any empathy for Katie during season 10?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. We are here for yet another Rachel Goes Rogue podcast episode, chapter 37. Pop the question. Apparently, this is the part 2. If you did not see my last video, which was a dual episode, this is the part 2 of her answering questions that she received in her DMs. So let's not waste any time. Make sure to show this channel some support by liking the video down below, subscribe, and make sure your notifications are on so you can get notified every time I post a video or go live, which I will be going live here very soon, so you want those notifications on. All right, let's go right into it. Pop the question, Rachel. Let's hear what else you have to say.
Welcome back to another episode of Rachel Goes Rogue. This is your host, Rachel Savannah Leviss, and today we're doing part 2 of the questions that you guys submitted. You are taking the reins in these 2 episodes, and I want to get to all of your questions, so we're going to pick up where we left off from the last episode. And I was just thinking, I got asked the question, what routines do you do to take care of your mental health? And I said breathing and crafting. And I also would like to share the other things that I do to take care of my mental health. I meditate. I listen to positive podcasts. I have weekly therapy. I listen to music. I'm social in my community. I read self-help books. I read books to nurture my inner child. And I keep my space clean. And I think that last part has been a huge help in the transformation of my mood and feeling organized and feeling like I'm waking up every day excited to get work done because my space is just like calm and zen and my vibe and I love it. So those are some tips for you if you're looking to improve areas in your own mental health.
I do want to point out, though, that everyone's practices to having better mental health is different. I will agree with some of the things that help her do help me as well. Like, biggest for me is music. Music fills my soul. It helps me release negative energy, bring positive energy in, and it just makes me feel better just singing my heart out and just feeling that emotion from the lyrics, the music, all of that. That's also why you might see some shorts of music that I love and adore, and it's really helped me in times that I feel are tough. And I like to share with other people different music because I know that music heals the soul. But her things were meditate, listening to positive podcasts, weekly therapy, music, read self-help books. She's social in her community, which I didn't really quite understand that one. She reads books to nourish her inner child's energy. That was interesting as well. And she keeps her space clean, which actually helps with her mood and being zen and calm and all of that, which that is a big thing too. When you have a clean, decluttered space, your mind is less cluttered. I personally, though, am not into book reading. That's just something that with my ADHD, I lose focus very easily. I do listen to podcasts or books, audiobooks like that. And that is helpful for me because then I can also be doing something else while paying attention to that. Even like this podcast, I do multiple things while I listen and edit and organize and all of that. It's just who I am as a person. Everyone is different. Weekly therapy, beautiful thing. And as I said, like last episode, things that help me too are like coloring and arts and crafts. I love doing woodworking. Anything that you find productive and positive and put positive energy into helps your mental health. If you are listening to like hate streams done on you or things that are drama filled, you are going to feel that stress and energy from those kind of things. One of my biggest advice to creators on this platform, just learning from everything that I have learned, is do not look at the negative comments. Don't react to them. If you do react to them in a positive manner, because sometimes those people just need positive energy back into their lives. And I don't watch anything that doesn't make me happy. So if people are causing drama or talking shit about me or talking shit about my friends, I don't care to listen. I put the time that I have into things that I enjoy and appreciate. And I feel like that helps my mental health and my journey tremendously, especially on this platform here. Life is way too short to have any of this stress, negativity, and destruction in life. And this is why I just don't understand why so many people have to be cruel human beings in this world when there's so much more to this world that they could offer, that they can do to help others, and they choose just to berate, belittle, and demean other people. And that's just not who I am, and I choose not to engage. But anyways, let's go into the juicy questions that she hasn't answered yet.
Okay, back to these questions. You guys sent in some heavy questions, or maybe I'm a heavy person. I'm a deep person, so I go there. But these are really good questions, and I am happy that we have this sort of dialogue and you're interested in knowing more about me, and I am very happy to share. So we will get back into it. Okay, first question, we're starting off talking about Tom, even when I said I wasn't going to anymore. Well, well, here we are. I guess I changed my mind, okay? Do you wish it worked out with you and Tom? No, I do not. The part that I wish it worked out on are things that I would want different in him, and I have to accept the fact that I cannot change anybody and nobody is going to change for me. So, Tom, as the package that he is, I am happy that it did not work out between us. Would you watch a season 12 of Vanderpump Rules if there is one? Absolutely freaking not. I am traumatized after watching last season of Vanderpump Rules, and I never want to watch a season of it again.
I mean, technically, she didn't have to answer talking about him if that is something she really didn't want to do. I get answering hard questions, but she could have easily just been like, listen, I'm choosing not to talk about him and leaving that in the past and just leave it at that. But in my opinion, I feel like she's really just not done talking about him and everything that she's gone through. And even in the dating episode, she didn't mention him by name, but she did talk about the situation. So that's still talking about him. But the way she answered that question too, like she's glad that it didn't work out because she knows that she can't change people and him as a package. There are things about him that she doesn't like because she can't change. If those things were different, would she still want to have been with him with all the circumstances that came with it? Like not changing what happened, but changing the person to be the person that she wanted, would she still have given him a shot? That's what I want to know. Also, she says that she's traumatized just from season 11 and she's never going to watch another season of Vanderpump ever again. I don't believe that for a second. And I'm going to say that now, and we will see when season 12 comes, if there is a season 12, if indeed she talks about it. And I will make a mental note somewhere in a book or something, so that way I can be like, oh, yes, it was chapter 37 that we talked about this, and I made that bet then. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think she's done with Vanderpump and watching it if there is another season? And what do you feel about her answer about Tom? Tell me that ain't weird. Tell me it is weird if you think it's weird. I want to hear it. Leave me a comment down below.
Can you give any comforting words to other girls who were the other woman? Ooh, let me see. Okay. I would say to anyone who has been the other woman or currently is the other woman in a relationship that it's very important to seek out trusted friends and tell them about the situation, or hire a therapist, invest some money into yourself to talk it out, because the secrecy is toxic and it's not healthy for anyone to be in a situation like that. You deserve so much better than being an option. And unfortunately, when you are giving somebody girlfriend access without the girlfriend status, you are doing yourself a disservice. And the guy is going to take advantage of this situation to the max. So just be mindful of that. I know you're probably thinking you are in love with this person. You probably are in love with this person, but you're probably attached too. And attachment isn't a bad thing. We can be aware of it, we can accept it, and then we can change it. And you deserve a love that is selfless towards you. And I don't think you should settle for anything less. So if you are in a situation where you're sneaking around with somebody that you should not be, you're doing yourself a disservice. And please, please, please get help. But don't shame yourself, because you're human. We're programmed to love others and to receive love. But you deserve more than this. I hope that helps. I hope that was comforting. Some tough love, I guess.
Very touching words from Rachel. I do believe that just hearing that, you can see the vulnerability that she had by being the other woman. My thing is too, and this is just me thinking about everything that has gone on. When she found out that she was the other woman with Garcelle's son, she immediately sat down with him, though they had a date that night planned when she found out, and said, like, what the fuck? Why would you do this? Like, why would you do that to her? Why would you do that to me? Why would you lead me on? And, like, she cut it out of her life. Why didn't she do that with Scandoval? Why did she not choose to not put herself in that position? Why did she let herself get into that mess? She knew he was with Ariana. She knew Ariana was upstairs sleeping. Why? Why did she let it get to that point? I get not having self-worth. I get not knowing where you were at that point in your life. I get not understanding boundaries and not having the therapy and the mental health help that you have now. But it's like you made it direct and clear to him, but you couldn't do the same when it came to Tom. And at that point, she was already kind of sleeping with Sandoval. Let's be real. But it's like, no one deserves to be a second option. No one deserves to be second best. When you are looking for a partner, let alone even just engaging in a friendly relationship, dating or else, like boyfriend-girlfriend type stuff, you do not deserve to be the other woman. And I will give her a little bit of credit where credit is due. Men do take advantage of that. I'm not going to say all men, because it's not all men. But there are men that will take advantage of that and feel like they are just like the badass mother effer because they have two women. And look at them. They are some kind of stud because they have two ladies chasing after them. No, 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 no. And that's where it's like, I don't understand why she doesn't get the trauma that she's brought on Ariana with everything that she did to her. And this is something that maybe I will just never understand, or maybe she will never get into for me to understand, or you or anyone else. But she does not realize the trauma and the effect that she's had on Ariana by her actions that she caused by doing what she did with Scandoval. And I know that I said this last episode, but like, maybe it's because Ariana does not wear it outwardly and she has not shown it and she's risen above it. But that's still not an excuse, because she has gone through her own trauma and grieving process with everything. It was a 9-year relationship. There was grieving involved. Whether she was with Daniel or not and found somebody new, that does not mean she was not hurt by everything that had happened. Just because all of her goals and dreams came true does not mean that she still does not have trauma from everything she's gone through. And I think that needs to be pointed out each time, because I don't feel like Rachel understands it enough. And I don't believe that she listens to these. But if you do, Rachel, I just want you to show some more empathy to the person that you caused trauma in their life. You can say that she traumatized you by not sending around a photo, because we have no evidence that she did, of what was going on between you and Tom. But you did that to your own self by getting involved with him. And you have to realize that the trauma that you caused somebody else, you cannot be mad at them for finding out. And that's kind of what you're doing by taking this legally and keep going after her with these accusations and literally no proof to anything that you have claimed. You blame others in your lawsuit, and reality is it's a mixture of everything. It wasn't just her and Scandoval. It was a mixture of everything that was happening in your life. And at some point in time, you will take credit where credit is due and be like, listen, I did this to myself. I've learned lessons to better myself, to know that I will never do something like this to myself again, let alone other people that I know that I affected by my actions. Okay, let's move on, because she's going fast. I need to go fast. Though I do really enjoy these times that we get to talk and kind of like just overthink maybe a little bit the situation of what's been happening and how things went on. I think that also helps for all of us to understand kind of where each other's coming from.
Back to our questions. Do you think the pageant world set you up to be vulnerable to trauma? No. And this is a very interesting question, because I feel like the pageant world gets a very bad rep. From my experience of it, it was a very positive thing for me to push myself and grow outside of my comfort zone. I chose to participate in my first pageant when I was 16 in high school. So my parents did not force me to compete, and I raised my own money to compete. I got sponsors so I could compete and buy a gown and dress up and get makeup lessons. And this is coming from a girl that wouldn't ask for anything. So asking for money was like a huge deal. And that's how much it meant to me, because I knew that there was something there for me to learn. I would love to have some of my pageant girlfriends on this podcast to talk about our experience, because it's unique and I feel like it's misunderstood and highly stereotyped. The women that compete in pageants are pretty badass, and they want the world to be a better place. And maybe that is a little bit stereotypical, but I don't think that they're dumb at all. And I feel like I did a little bit of a disservice to the pageant community by being cast as the dumb one on Vanderpump Rules. But I think that the show did that. I'm not stupid. I'm actually very intelligent. And we could talk about that too, because, I've had to figure out the hard way that I've had a learning disability and overcome that. And I would love to dive deeper into my ADHD diagnosis and how I got certain accommodations. That could be a whole episode. But back to the question, no, I do not think the pageant world set me up to be vulnerable to trauma. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that and say that I would love to have some friends on here to help expand your knowledge of the pageant community. I think that would be fun.
I think that is a wonderful thing that she gave us more of an insight into her pageant experience. I will agree with her that the pageant industry in general has a bad rep. When I talk about her being in pageants, it's more with the people pleasing, because that is something that no matter what, they teach you to people please, to always wear a smile on your face and have this sense of happiness, even if you are at the bottom of the barrel miserable. Those are things that I think did a disservice to her, not the pageant in general, being part of them or being in them. I think she learned to speak up, find her voice, give her confidence. I think it helped with her social anxiety and all of that. I do think it helped her in many ways. I also think, though, it did a disservice to her, especially with the people pleasing. That's something that she's had to do her whole life, and that's something with pageant industries that they are taught. And I have friends that do pageants. I have met Miss Connecticut, since I'm from Connecticut. If you didn't already know, now you do. So I've met Miss Connecticut. I've had opportunities to talk with them about different things, and I've done pageants as well myself when I was much, 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 much younger, not when I was older, but I do know how it works. It's like that with other sports too, not just the pageant world, but even like for me as a figure skater. I did figure skating for more than 18 years of my life, but a very long time of my life. And that was something that, like, even if you were having a bad day, you had to get out there and perform and do your thing without showing any kind of emotion and showing that you are capable and you are a jolly good soul, even though you might have been feeling horrible that day. And I would love for her to bring on some pageant women and them give more of an insight into the pageant industry. I think there's a lot to be said, a lot to be told. I know one of her best friends has struggled with different things that have happened because of her career in the pageant world and being misunderstood and judged. And I would love for her to bring her on and talk about it. That was actually one of the girls that we saw in the 4th of July photos from last episode. She is part of the pageant world. I believe she was even Miss America, if I am remembering correctly. But she has had her own issues with social media and people trying to cancel her and judging her on things. And I think that would be great topics and things for people to learn and understand.
What is your advice on red flags to look for in men? Ooh, okay. This one's fun because my therapist that I have now, I've got the red flag meter down, I feel like anyway. Someone who is controlling, it's definitely a red flag. You do not want to date somebody who's controlling. I would say it's probably best for the guy that you are dating to have a positive relationship with his mother and his family. I think that childhood really shapes you to become the person that you are subconsciously. And a guy who has a good relationship with his mother is probably going to treat you right, I would say. We'll see. I'll let you know. Also, guys who have an older sister, I feel like get it. Guys who don't have integrity, say what you mean what you say. And, like, that needs to be consistent, and I would give somebody, like, 3 mess ups before you cut them out, if they're, like, small mess ups, because if they're small things, I feel like it's easy to give them a pass and maybe it was I don't know, like, give them the benefit of the doubt, but if it's consistent like that, they're probably gonna mess up on a bigger thing, and we don't want that. So, integrity is huge. When a guy treats people in service with disrespect, I would say that that's a red flag.
Now, maybe I'm looking into this a little too technical, but the person asked for what are red flags for you? And she gave a lot of green flags, what are good in men that she is looking for. She only gave really like 2 to 3 red flags, which is controlling, guys that treat people in service with disrespect, and I guess we can say like guys that don't have integrity. But like even saying like having a positive relationship with their mother and family, or like if they have an older sister, they get it. Those are green flags. Those are things that you're looking for. Those aren't red flags. So for me, I feel like she didn't really answer the question like she should. And giving somebody 3 mess ups before you cut them out, and I can understand 3 minor mess ups, but even 3 sometimes is too many. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That's my cutoff. Like, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially with friendships and things like that. And I might be a little bit of a hypocrite because technically I've given my boyfriend 3 shots. But where we were in our relationships previously we were not ready. And it wasn't like we broke up because of anything major or any disagreements or things like that. We just were not ready to date. And finally, we were ready to date. And he had done nothing wrong. That's why I gave him his third chance. And this will be his last. But I also feel like he is my soulmate. So the last will be forever. Some red flags, though, that I would give as an example would be, yes, controlling. Someone that is disrespectful. Someone that talks down to you. Someone who's not available and is in other relationships. Someone that's not looking out for your best interest, but is only looking out for his best interest. Someone you do not feel safe with. Someone that has their own issues that maybe you can feel like you can change, but you can't change somebody else's issues. Someone that doesn't have any morals or dignity for their own self will not have morals or dignity for you. So those are just some red flags that I'm giving as advice. I hope that does help some of you.
When did you decide to get sober? I decided to get sober when I checked myself into the Meadows. I remember telling Tom, there's a good chance that I will leave here not drinking alcohol anymore. I was like, okay, I'm going to take back control of my life and not abuse substances the way that I have in the past. And I can honestly say, like, it has brought me so much more clarity cutting alcohol out of my life. I feel like I can really connect to myself better and access parts of my brain that need more processing and healing. And I'm able to like step into my most favorite self more often. And I think it's paired with multiple things like consistent therapy and daily routines. But alcohol, I think is the most overrated substance in today's culture. Yeah, if you're sober curious, I would try it out for a month. See if you can cut out alcohol. It'll be difficult, but see what happens. Try it out for yourself.
Well, for not talking about Scandoval, she sure mentions his name a lot. Like, here we go. I get, like, your point. You wanted to let Tom know that you were gonna be sober going into the Meadows and probably leaving because you really thought maybe you would possibly still be with him afterwards. But you didn't have to mention his name. You could have just been like, when I went into the Meadows, I made this decision for myself, and this is what I had let other people know as well, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's how it could have gone. But anyways, I'm happy that she's sober. I also agree that I believe that alcohol is very overrated. Though I do drink on occasion, I don't drink very often at all, if that at any. I did have a couple drinks a couple weeks ago, and that was the first time I had drank in over a year. For me, I had learned a long time ago with alcohol in my early 20s that I didn't have a limit. That once I started, there was no stopping. So I quickly did not like the way I felt the next day, didn't like the hangover, didn't like the feeling afterwards, didn't like the feeling of not having control and just not being able to stop myself. And I said to myself, like, I'm not going to drink, even before the point that I found out that I was epileptic. Now, because I am epileptic, I do also know that if I am to drink, there is a possible chance that it could trigger a seizure and things like that. So that's another reason why I've chosen in my life not to drink. I don't personally have any issues with alcohol, though I am a recovering addict myself. I've had issues with other substances in my life, and I can happily say that I've been clean and sober for 13 years. And when I say clean and sober, I don't mean clean and sober from all substances. I mean clean and sober from the substance that was my drug of choice. I do devil with the devil's lettuce, per se. People like to call it that. But for me, it's a benefit. It helps me. It helps my ADHD. It helps my anxiety. It helps with even my epilepsy. It is something that I enjoy. I don't see it as a problem, and I don't overdo it. And I believe that everyone's vision of sobriety is different. I don't judge people that say that they're sober and clean and yet they're, smoking or they're drinking. Because I also know for myself that wasn't an issue, and the issues that I did have, say with alcohol, I'm able to control, where like other substances I'm not. And that's why I can say, like, I know me and my body and myself to understand those, and I'm proud of her for better understanding herself and her body with substances and her choice not to drink and not to do other things if that is her choice. But I will say, I do, like I said, find that alcohol is very overrated, but I also believe like that's like a milestone for people. Like, you turn 21, you can finally drink. You turn 21, it used to be 18, you can finally buy a pack of smokes, like things like that. And I think that's why it's overrated, because we put those labels on it, like, oh, now you're finally an adult because you can do this, which I think that's where it comes to be, that it is made to be overrated with those kind of things. But let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on all of this, and we are moving on to the last part. This was another short episode, so I hope you guys are enjoying this, and if you are, make sure to like this video for me.
How did you learn to overcome fear around public speaking? I overcame fear by exposure therapy, showing up and speaking when I did not want to. I joined Toastmasters and I forced myself to speak in front of other people. You have to like prep speeches and they count the number of likes and ums and filler words that you say so that you become more aware, which I still have work to do. But my confidence speaking improved because of that. And I felt like I was able to express myself more than I ever was able to before. And this is me newly single and really breaking out of my depression that I was in and seeing life in a new light and a new hopefulness and just like living life to the fullest. That was my mindset. Yeah, I just felt like I was talking a lot more. And I think you guys noticed when I resumed filming for season 10, like I remember seeing comments of people saying like, what the heck? Like Raquel is a different person. She's not, her voice isn't the same. And it was because like I was doing so much training for Miss California. Yeah, it's all about exposure therapy. And that is why I competed in Miss California Teen USA back when I was 16, because I knew that it would push me outside of my comfort zone. Basically, it's like, what's the one fear in your life, your most illogical, irrational fear? Pinpoint that. And then what would happen if you overcame that fear? What would unlock for you? And so I feared public speaking so much that I felt like if I overcame that, I would be unstoppable. And look at me now. I have my own podcast and I feel pretty freaking unstoppable.
I can totally understand her fear of public speaking. I personally don't have an issue with public speaking. I'm the type of person that I will go up to some random stranger and say hi or ask them if they need help. I don't really have like social anxiety issues like that. I do know that Covina has caused issues for some people, especially with social anxiety, and it's a big issue in our society nowadays. I will say it is interesting that like she didn't have more training. Knowing that like now that she started pageants at 16 and she did it all the way up until I believe she was 27, I think was the cutoff, or 28. I forgot the age. You guys can remind me down below. But it was a long time that she did pageants, and with pageants, that's part of training is public speaking, because as somebody that is representing like Miss Malibu, for instance, that was where she was representing. You have to go out and do a lot of public speaking events, speaking to the public, speaking to different people, organizations, and going on stage and talking to the judges, and that's part of like the competition and the pageants. So I'm surprised to see that it took her as long as it did for her to get over that fear, but everyone's fears and limits and where they overcome them are different. So I'm proud that she's finally found her voice and she feels like she can speak freely. I give her a lot of credit where credit is due.
Do you regret breaking off your engagement with James? No, I don't regret breaking off my engagement. I knew that James is not the right person for me because I wouldn't treat other people the way that he treated other people. And I would be embarrassed and become very, very small and want to disappear when he treated people very disrespectfully. Did you have any empathy for Katie during season 10? Do you feel like you owe her and her mom an apology? I did not, and that is not something that I am proud of. Katie, I'm really sorry for not considering you and your emotions and what you were going through. I did not even think for one moment to put myself in your shoes. And I caused you so much pain. And I truly am sorry for that. I decided to play into a role on a reality TV show for the views. I'm not doing that again. And I hope you are healing and I hope you're doing well.
Well, I guess we can agree on something, Rachel, because I do agree with you that your engagement with James was not working and you made the right move by calling it off. I do, though, think that he has grown a lot since then, just like you have grown yourself. He has a new relationship that he is doing tremendously well in, and he has shown that he is taking people into consideration more, and he's not as bad as he used to be, though he still has traits that he can treat people with disrespect. And that's one thing that I don't like about James, though I do find some of his jokes funny. I know that he's being disrespectful, and that's something that isn't funny. Now, the apology to Katie. Do I feel like it was sincere? I do. To a point. To a point. And I have to point that out because I feel like she was starting off very well and then she ended it very wrong. She blamed it on doing it for the TV show and for views, and in my opinion, I don't believe that that's what she was doing. I believe that she just was not thinking about other people's emotions and what they were going through or putting herself into their shoes, and she was only caring about what was happening with her, covering up the affair that she was having with Scandoval by doing what she did with Schwartz and not really considering other people's feelings. If she can apologize to Katie, why can't she apologize like this to Ariana? That's my other thing, too. Like, if you could do this for Katie, why can't you do that for Ariana? Because what you did to Ariana is 20 times worse than what you did to Katie. And no offense to Katie, because she didn't deserve it either. But what she did to Ariana was so much worse than what she did to Katie. And both times she was not considering the other person and the other person's feelings, and she was only giving a shit about herself and what made herself feel good at the moment, even though she has now admitted that what she was feeling wasn't necessarily good for herself either. But of course, you know I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think about her apology to Katie and her mom? I mean, technically she added her mom in there, but not really gave an apology to Katie's mom. But what do you think about it? Let me know down below.
Would you be open to talking to any former cast members? Do you ever see a world where there is any sort of friendship with any of them? Um, I don't see a world where there is a genuine friendship because I feel like trust has been broken on both ends. I feel like the love that I received from the cast members were conditional. I would be open to talking to Lala. I don't think that there's a world where there's any sort of genuine friendship, but I think there's a world where we can be cordial to each other and not, send the dogs on each other anymore. So all I can do, and I understand completely, like it's part of the acceptance of like this situation where people are going to think what they think given the circumstance. And I would think that too. All I can do now is show up for myself consistently, honestly, and over time, I will be able to rebuild that trust. This whole journey has been such a process for me. And I think it's very poetic that I entered into this reality TV world thinking it was real and knowing that I would overcome some sort of block with my public speaking and social anxiety and external validation. And it has so much so that like I know myself better than I ever have before. I can confidently say that. And I can speak freely and honestly and openly and without fear because the people that are receiving my message are receiving it for a reason. And I think the poetic part is that it's through a podcast, which I would have never in a million years thought that I would have had. Thank you for listening. I'm happy that you are here.
Well, I told you it was a short and sweet one. So let's finish up with her last couple of questions. I will say that her being on a reality show did ultimately help her find herself in the end, and that's something that she needs to be grateful for and not always look down upon the show, because the show is the reason she learned the lessons in life that she did to get her to the point that she is now in her life, where she can better understand herself. She knows herself very well, and she's come so far from who she was because of the show. Those are benefits, and she talks really bad about the show, but the show gave a lot of benefits, though the opportunities that she also received from the show is the reason why she has this podcast, and we all listen to it. Like, if it wasn't for the show, we would not even care to listen to this podcast. Let's be real. Now, the friend question. I personally don't think she could ever be friends with any of them, not even Lala. Though Lala has been kind of a flippy-floppy kind of person lately, I still don't think that Lala would do that to Sheena, of all people. Because she is close to Sheena. She lives next door to Sheena. That her daughter is best friends with Sheena's daughter. Like, I don't think that Lala would ever make that choice to even talk to Rachel just because of her friendship with Sheena. And it's interesting that she says that the friendships were conditional. No, I think that they had to put up boundaries, and you just didn't like the boundaries that people put in place because of the actions that you chose to do and betray people because of your actions. You slept with your friend's boyfriend for 7 months, and you hid it from people that you supposedly said that you trusted and cared about and that they were your friends. Yet you sit here on this same podcast saying, like, if you get yourself into this kind of a situation, talk to people that care about you, so that way you can have someone to talk to about it that can help you see things for maybe what it truly is, because you don't deserve to be a second option. But it's like, did you talk to any one of them? No, you didn't. And then when it came down to it, like, you got mad that they put these boundaries in place, saying that they didn't want to be your friend anymore because you betrayed their trust. And here you are saying, like, well, it was conditional. No, those aren't conditions. Those are putting up boundaries because of the actions that you caused. Just like you going and putting a TPO on Sheena after the fact, and then saying, like, you regret ever even doing that. Like, it's things like that, like, that I just can't, that make me mad about Rachel. And it's like, these are the things that, like, I still don't like about her, that I wish that she would just be able to see it for what it really is. And sometimes it's hard when you are reflecting back on yourself and the mistakes that you made, and admitting those faults and admitting those mistakes and taking ownership for that. And it's easier to blame others than it is to blame yourself. And I think that is something that she needs to work on, because let me tell you, I've already gotten to listen to a couple of podcasts that are going to be coming out soon, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because I have already listened to her other podcasts, and they are very interesting, and we will be covering them still here on my channel. And she mentions in one of them, and I'm not going to go into full detail because that'll be for the podcast, but that she was betrayed by friends. And it's like, no, honey, you betrayed them. You betrayed them by sleeping with your friend's boyfriend for 7 months. You betrayed your friends by going and getting a TPO on them after the fact, when your actions were the reason that resulted in that outlash. And you're the reason that you started this podcast was to trash your friends. You also are currently pursuing legal action against people that you supposedly say weren't your friend, but now you're claiming were your friend. That's a whole nother ball game that we'll get into as well. But it's like she feels betrayed by her friends, when reality is she was the one who betrayed her friends by her actions, by what she did, by hiding this affair, by sleeping with her friend's boyfriend, and hurting people the way she did. But she cannot see that right now, and it might take some time for her to see, but I do wish her all the best, and I will continue to keep wishing her all the best, because I hope that one day she learns from this as well. But anyways, guys, that was another Rachel Goes Rogue podcast episode. Let me know what you thought of it down below in the comments. And we will be back here again very soon for yet another one and some other new stuff as well. So make sure to like this video if you've enjoyed tonight's podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel with your notifications set to all so you can get notified every time I post a video or go live. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will be back here again very soon. Bye, everyone.
I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus. I can't